We all know that this
You agree
is
with the leak? You agree with the leak?
This is a MAGA victimization fund that is sanctioned by Donald Trump. How dare he?
Progressive host Adam Mockler appeared on Abby Phillips' show, where he joined a panel alongside several MAGA-aligned pundits to challenge what he described as far-right misinformation and false claims. In this video, we're going to look at clips from that panel featuring Adam Mockler and the other guests on Abby Phillips' show, and I'll also share my own thoughts along the way. So let's dive in and break it all down together.
The DOJ's $1.8 billion slush fund deal with Donald Trump bans the IRS from pursuing claims it may have made against him forever. According to new terms released by the DOJ today, the federal government is, quote, forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing claims or examinations arising from any pending IRS matters, and the deal includes tax returns filed by Trump before the agreement was reached. The deal language applies not only to Trump, but his family members, trusts, companies, and other affiliates. It was signed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. That was Trump's former personal attorney, who is now the acting AG. Congressman, I'm going to start with you.
Thanks for starting with me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. Because we had a little discussion about this yesterday, and I'll let Scott go first, so it is your turn. What do you make of this? This is an addendum, something new added to it, saying they cannot look back at anything that the Trumps have done, family members included, when it comes to how they dealt with their taxes.
You know, I was trying to think of a technical term for this. It's like criminal financial masturbation, right? So what you're looking at is this right here, okay? Right? This is the issue that I have. This is the biggest self-dealing in presidential history. You're talking about protecting his family and himself from any type of IRS investigation. Not only did he sue his own IRS for $10 billion, then he settled with himself for, by the way, it's $1.776 billion, 1776, which is simply a dog whistle to QAnon. That's all that is for his base. That's exactly what it is. And by the way, I'm an expert on it, so if people want to argue with me, I am ready to rock. The other issue that you have with this when you're talking about this type of self-dealing is that to say in perpetuity.
Captain Eyebrows argues that there is no real leadership and that they are just cardboard cutouts. But if that were true, then a basic question comes up. How are these so-called cardboard cutouts and nobody in charge still able to keep the strait closed? If there is truly no functioning leadership or control, then why wouldn't the United States simply be able to walk in and take control? If they are really as powerless as claimed, then the argument doesn't seem to make logical sense.
Can't go after somebody for criminal. Does that mean they're criming? And this is a guy who's already, he's been adjudicated on 34 felonies. This guy has been adjudicated for sexual abuse. We were talking about all the states. Seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's like he's burning the crops after he's stealing the corn because he's a lame duck president. Everything he's doing right now is about self-dealing, right? You're looking at the Trump boys. They're sitting there getting contracts on drone warfare. You see all that happening right now. You see, Kushner in the Middle East. All this is self-dealing. You see the stock trades. All this is him trying to enrich himself and his family as fast as he can. It's the most disgusting thing that I've seen, especially with somebody who's took the oath as a military member and as a congressman. And right now, when we're looking at this as sort of overarching, I can't imagine, right? I can't imagine anybody, and I'm not trying to stage this argument, I can't imagine anybody saying that this is right. It's so egregiously awful and corrupt. I don't know why right now there's not people, Republicans and Democrats, saying there's no way this type of self-dealing can happen.
I really like this line from Ashley Allison. Donald Trump is such a poor negotiator that he cannot even out-negotiate cardboard cutouts.
It's so egregiously awful and corrupt. I don't know why right now there's not people, Republicans and Democrats, saying there's no way this type of self-dealing can happen.
I'm about to tell you that it's right. Go ahead, Scott.
Is it wrong or is it right?
Well, first of all, why
Scott's going to tell you that it's right. That's a great line from Anna Navarro.
did he sue the IRS?
Because it was a leak.
Because they leaked his tax returns illegally.
No, the IRS didn't leak. Let's be clear. The IRS didn't leak. An independent contractor did. So therefore, it doesn't apply.
That's a nice hair splitting. But
it's frivolous. It's a frivolous
while Trump was president. This happened during Trump's administration.
Facts matter.
He himself was the victim of the federal government being weaponized against him for political purposes. That's number one. Number two, I believe this deal on the looking back, it doesn't apply forward looking. It has to do with this period of time.
Now,
number three, on the fund, we talked about this a little bit last night. I think that the idea that someone who attacked a police officer, they should not get money. That's not right. However, if someone does have a legitimate claim that they were over prosecuted or targeted unfairly or was on the periphery of some issue and had no reason to be targeted, and they have a legitimate claim against the government, I have no problem with that. I think the government makes mistakes all the time, and people should be able to...
They keep bringing up the idea that Americans want people murdered, and they also repeat these MAGA talking points about the 47 years argument. But overall, I felt pretty safe. If someone has lived through the past 47 years, you have to ask whether they have actually felt genuinely threatened by Iran in any real way. I haven't. There are many other things that worry me more in terms of day-to-day safety, and most of them feel like issues inside the United States rather than coming from Iran.
It would be transparent. It wouldn't be hidden, right, and secretive. That's the same thing that they do all the time. They hide behind this executive privilege on non-appropriated funds. When you have something secret, it's not about transparency. Everything we've talked about is transparency. And my question, Scott, is do you actually believe he should sue the IRS for $10 billion on an independent contractor leak?
Do I think that people should
American
have their tax
taxpayer money.
returns leaked by the federal government for political reasons, weaponized against them? It wasn't just him, it was other people
why
too.
did he
Well, Ken
file
Griffin. It was Ken Griffin also, and Ken Griffin just asked for an apology because he knows it's egregiously
Right.
ridiculous.
Well, and Trump got an apology, and he's not getting any money out of it.
Okay,
as
it
far
was
as I can
2
tell.
years.
Well,
Two years,
but it's 1.776 billion.
And
is
2
what he's
years
getting.
after the statute of limitations on this, it was not the federal government who did this. It was an individual contractor. The Supreme Court has ruled
Just
three
magically
times.
on his
The
own?
Supreme Court
How
has
did he
ruled
have his
three times in
returns?
precedent since 1911 that you cannot be the judge of yourself on anything. And so Donald Trump is sued himself to get a fund now settled with himself, to get a fund where he's going to write a check for himself. We all know that this
You agree
is
with the leak?
bullshit.
You agree with
okay?
the leak?
This is a MAGA victimization fund that is sanctioned by Donald Trump. How dare he? How dare he? You look in the face and you justify this to the families of the police officers who were beaten, who were almost killed, to the people who were killed, to the people whose careers are ruined. I don't know about you, Scott, but I've spent time with those officers and their families, and their lives have been ruined. American tax dollars should not go to this. This is dishonorable. It's grotesque. And anyone who tries to hide behind some kind of patriotism behind this should be ashamed of themselves. Look in the eyes of the families of the people who suffered on January 6th. You know who the victim is here? Them and our democracy. And shame on anyone who tries to justify this. And it's our dollars that they're robbing to do this. It's grotesque and despicable.
And it's also unconstitutional.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see Jamie Raskin and the Democrats are going to challenge it.
Yeah, it is Congress who gets the power of the purse. They cannot adjudicate this amount of money like that. It's also,
Yeah, I think there's a question on that.
I think it is no coincidence that they posted this addendum, that the DOJ posted this addendum after Todd Blanche had his hearing today in front of Congress, because he didn't want to answer questions on this, because it stinks to holy hell. And this is coming at a time when Americans can't afford gas, can't afford groceries, are canceling summer vacations. Farmers are going bankrupt, but we are settling with Donald Trump to the tunes of billions, and we're saying you are above the law.
He's not getting any of the money.
I'm glad that everyone said that all
of us around this table could be audited by the IRS. All of us.
Sure.
It is not that Donald Trump is used to dealing with normal transactional partners. He is used to being able to pressure or push people into doing what he wants in business dealings. In those situations, he could sometimes avoid paying for services and rely on the fact that the people he was dealing with did not have the resources to fight him in court, so he could simply outlast them. But when you are dealing with countries, it does not work that way, because you cannot simply bully an entire nation into doing whatever you want. This is where criticism of the idea of putting a so-called businessman in the White House comes in, especially when it is framed around a businessman with multiple bankruptcies and a track record that some argue does not match the strong negotiator image often presented. The art of the deal idea is often criticized as exaggerated, with critics arguing that in many cases it depended on leverage over weaker opponents rather than consistent high-level negotiation skills.
Trump can't.
But Donald Trump can.
Right.
Yeah,
That
protecting
stinks
himself
to
in
holy hell.
perpetuity is absolutely
And his family.
ludicrous.
Well, it's not
And his
moving.
family.
It's not this
It's
point
ludicrous.
forward.
Yet.
Yeah, right, but it
It's
includes his family
Hold my
and all of his and all of the
my
derivatives
beer.
of his business. Lydia, go ahead.
No, I'm glad that everyone's up in arms about slush funds. I mean, Biden had $350 in a COVID fund that he appointed to
$350?
$350 billion. There were about $20 billion that went to climate NGOs. I mean, I'm not a fan of slush
Are
funds.
you really?
As a vehicle.
Are
So
you?
I'm glad that you're.
This is
I'm
like
glad that you're
comparing
outraged
cats and
about $1 billion.
astronauts.
I was also outraged about.
Okay, Biden's not president.
$400 billion.
Biden's not president anymore. Justify this. Let's.
Honestly, I don't really care whether Iran has a nuclear weapon or not. In general, I would prefer that no country has nuclear weapons at all. But when the United States already has a large nuclear arsenal and has also been involved in conflicts around the world, it becomes easier to understand why other countries might view nuclear weapons as a form of deterrence or protection. I don't really accept the idea that Iran would necessarily attack the United States if it had nuclear weapons. In fact, it can also be argued that the United States might have been less likely to take military action against Iran if Iran already had nuclear weapons. And Jason, we've been discussing this with you on the show for several months now at this point.
Justify this. You're okay with this? You think this is an honorable use of taxpayer dollars? Yes or no?
I don't answer to you.
Oh, no, you
think
can answer
the
to the American people. Go ahead. I'm asking you a simple
That's a no.
question. And the millions of people watching right now, answer to them.
What is
You think this is honorable?
I do not.
Crickets.
Can
Thank you
I
very much.
speak? So the law.
The fact that you can't say yes or no is crazy.
Lydia, answer the question.
Wow.
What do you think? Is
So,
this the right thing to
I
do?
think
Is this
the law,
honorable?
I think it's important to acknowledge the lawfare that Trump and
lawfare?
hundreds of people experienced.
He is willing to take political hits because he does not really understand what he is doing and lacks clear direction.
Last administration, staffers, people who were blacklisted. Trump spent tens of millions of. So the lawfare is a serious issue. And I think it makes sense that there would be some sort of restitution, given that this ruined people's lives. I am not sure that this is the best vehicle to make that happen.
Oh, for the love of God. Do we all agree that we are against the slush fund in Congress that pays out taxpayer money to people who make claims on sexual assault, sexual harassment, and claim, and we have no transparency. We don't know who it goes to, right?
That is horrific.
Okay, it is horrific.
But that's not
It is
changed.
also equally
Right.
horrific.
That is changed, yeah. That's
It is
changed.
equally horrific that there will be no transparency to this
That's right.
alleged fund, that it is being done unconstitutionally because Congress has the power of the purse, that it is given Donald Trump a carte blanche to do whatever, and his family
oversight.
to do whatever the hell he wants, and that it is being negotiated by his personal lawyer with his personal lawyer, who is now the acting attorney general. It is disgusting. It is.
Here's what,
Ultimately, what this comes down to is that I don't fully agree with Ashley Allison on this point. I don't think it would have made much difference if they had started with the nuclear issue first. The main concern is still that Iran should not be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. The American people have seen this same situation repeat itself again and again, and many are exhausted by it. They do not want more wars like this against countries that did not directly attack the United States. If someone had actually attacked or invaded the United States, that would be a completely different situation. But this feels similar to Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, and Korea, where the countries involved were not a direct threat to the United States or the American people, and were not attacking the country. Over time, the American public has reached a point where a large portion of people are saying enough is enough. They do not want trillions of dollars being spent on another war. They do not want American soldiers losing their lives. And they do not want civilians in other countries dying while more money continues to flow to defense contractors and political insiders. So the spin being presented in the segment is not going to change how people see the issue. As gas prices rise and the global economy feels pressure, support for prolonged conflict is likely to keep dropping, regardless of the reactions or disagreements seen on panels like Abby Phillips'